So today's class we are going to view chapter 3 Sultans of Delhi. So in this chapter we are going to view how the rule of sultans were prevalent during those time and what were the different type of dynasties and so that are the major topics that we are going to cover in this chapter. So we all know that Rajput that we have already seen in chapter 2 of history. So during those time, the Chauhan Rajputs, was the first to make Delhi the capital of their kingdom in the mid of 12th century. And during the Chauhan Rajput, the major role of Chauhan dynasty was Prithviraj Chauhan. And 1192, Prithviraj Chauhan was defeated by Muhammad Ghuri in the second battle of Lorraine. And so what happened was that the Chauhan rule in Delhi came to an end, and a new line of rulers came to power, that is Turks, which came from Central Asia or Afghan, called as sultans, and where the word sultanate means the form of government or kingdoms under the sultans. So Delhi under the rule of sultans came to be known as Delhi Sultanate. And if you see the right side image of the map, you can see in orange color the region where the Delhi Sultanate was ruling, and so which are the major places ruling is also you'll be able to see in the map. So by the 13th century, the Sultan of Delhi were able to control the vast area and the resources near to the Delhi Sultanate. And if you see the Sultanate period, it is about 320 years. There was the period where in which Sultan was rolling out, and it was the period from 1206th century to 15 to 6th century. And this century in history it is known as the Sultanate period. And during this period, there were about five dynasties that been ruled from Delhi. The major dynasties are the following. One is the slave dynasty, Khalji dynasty, Tughlaq dynasty, Timbu's invasion, and Sayyid dynasty and Lodi's dynasty. So these are the major dynasties. And if you see, all the rulers of these dynasty ruled from Delhi, which was their capital. The Sultan of Delhi built their own capital cities, but always in and around their area was now also known as the Delhi. And if you see the first dynasty of Delhi Sultanate, that is the slave dynasty. If you see the slave dynasty, the important rulers of this dynasty were being slaves before they became sultan. And the first person who found out the slave dynasty is Qutbuddin Aibak, and he was the founder, and he was the favorite slave of Muhammad Ghuri. So after the victory of second battle of Terrain, uh, the Muhammad Ghuri, he is appointed Aibak as the governor of Delhi. So after the death of Muhammad Ghuri in 1206, Aibak decided himself as an independent ruler of Delhi. So after when he becomes the independent ruler of Delhi, so he started construction of the famous Qutub Minar. Even now, also you'll be able to see Qutub Minar. So it is one of the tallest bricks mine was started, and been he started the construction of Qutub Minar. And Aibak died in 1210, and he was succeeded by Aram Shah, but Aram was he's a very weak ruler, so he was not able to not able to rule the slave dynasty. So he was overthrown by Itmish, the most competent among the slaves of Aibak. And Itmish, he ruled about 25 years, that is from the period from 1211 to 1236 century. He organized army effectively. He was having a great army, and he established the Sultanate as an important kingdom. He also introduced two coins. One is silver coins and also copper coins. And silver coins is known as Tanga, whereas copper coin is known as Jintal. And Qutb Minar in Delhi during his region here, during his period, he almost completed the construction of Qutb Minar, and he nominated his daughter Rasia as the successor of the throne. And Rasia is the daughter of Itmish, and the successor, succeeded her father. And she was a very opponent ruler, and she ruled within a short period, that is from 1236 to 1239 century. And coins issued during the region of Rasia only. She was very bold and courageous, and even though she dressed like a man command and lead the army. The battlefield with a great courage and strength. But the nobles under her, who have very powerful, do not like Russia's manner and Russia's rules, so they tried to plot against her and kill the Russia. So Russia's have died on the period of 1239. So after Russia's death, Ghazi Din Balban was the next ruler. So he lasted. I mean, the last important ruler of the slave dynasty, that is from the period of 1266 to 1287. During his region, the administration was strengthened, and the army was trained to use different type of new weapons, and it helped them to fight against the attacks of Mongolians. And he died in 1287. After him, the slave dynasty got ended, and the new ruler known as Khalji began, and the Ghaziyas-ud-Din Balban was being succeeded by his grandson Kayhud, but he was a very weak ruler. In 1290, a powerful noble Jalaluddin Khalji killed that is the Balban's grandson, killed the grandson, and founded a new dynasty called the Khalji dynasty. And the Khalji dynasty, the Khalji dynasty founder, he was very courageous ruler. During his time, Mongolians attacked the country, but he was able to fought against them very bravely and defended the Sultan. And in 1294, he was murdered. He was murdered by his nephew Alauddin Khilji, and Alauddin Khilji is known for his conquest and reforms, and he was establishing different kingdoms in the entire north, and even some of the kingdoms in near to the south. South was south, and with the help of his favorite slave Malik Kafur, who led most of the military campaigns during the last years of his reign. Alauddin Khilji in 1316, there were regular Mongolian attacks during the rule of Alauddin, and to protect the Sultan from those attacks, he built a large arm. And Alauddin Khilji also introduced a marco regulation and several changes in the systems of revenue collections too. And to check the rise of price of essential goods, Al-Din appointed different officials to ensure that the merchants sold their goods and at a fixed price by the court, and law-breaking merchants were given harsh punishment, and these measures proved quite successful, and that is how Al-Uddin Khilji's rule was prominent. And Hud-ud-Din Marbug Shah the third and the last rule of Khalji dynasty. During his reign, all the taxes and penalties were abolished, and he released all prisoners of war who were captured in the battles. Khosrow Khan, his own slave, killed him. Thus, the Khalji dynasty came to an end. So these were the three rulers who were under the Khalji dynasty. That is Jalaluddin Khalji, Al-Uddin Khalji, and Qutbuddin Mubarak Shah was the third and the last ruler of Khalji dynasty, and he was killed by Qutbuddin Mubarak Shah was killed by Khusru Khan by his slave himself. And so this is regarding Khalji dynasty. What we are going to view is Tughlaq dynasty in period of 1321 to 1411. In 1321, Khusru Khan was killed by Jazi Malik, then the governor of Dipalpur, ascended the throne of the Delhi Sultan, and he took the title of Ghaziyas-ud-Din Tughlaq and founded the Tughlaq dynasty. Ghaziyas-ud-Din Tughlaq built the cities of Tughlabad outside Delhi. He successfully defended the Sultanate against the Mongols, and he conquered many areas, including the eastern part of Bengal, a huge territory. He died in 1325 while returning from the successful military campaign against the Bengal. And if you see the next after his death, the next ruler was Muhammad bin Tughlaq, the son of the successor Ghaziazuddin Tughlaq. Muhammad bin Tughlaq was a competent and knowledgeable person, but due to some of his decisions, he became unpopular with his subjects. One of these was the decision to shift the capital from Delhi to Daulabad and the present-day Andhra Pradesh. His decision to increase taxes in the fertile Dobab region also made the failure, and he died in 1351. So after his death, the Firoz Shah Tughlaq was the successor of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He made sure he made sure that the people in the kingdom were happy. However, he was not strong military leader and was unable to defend Sultanate against the external attacks. Firoz Khan died in 1388 through the Tughlaq dynasty and lasted for another years. None of the successor of Firoz was able to prevent the collapse of the Sultanate. So this is about the Tughlaq dynasty between 1321 to 14 dynasty, that is Timbu's invasion and Sayyid dynasty, the period from 1414 to 1451. Timbu's invasion and Sayyid dynasty, the period from 1441 to 1451. In 1398, Timbu, the ruler of Balkh in Central Asia, invaded India and attacked in Delhi. His soldiers looted the city for many days, killed thousands of people, and then went back to Central Asia. While leaving Delhi, Timbus appointed Khazir Khan, the governor of Multan, Lahore, and Dipalpur, as the deputy in India. In 1414, Khazir Khan conquered Delhi from its weak Tughlaq ruler and founded Sayyid dynasty. Khazir Khan was Timbu, the invader from Central Asia, succeeded by three rulers in section: Mubarak Shah Sahid, Muhammad Shah Sahid, Al-Wuddin Alam Said. Mubarak Shah was capable, but the nobles in his court were against his policies. The last two Sahid rulers were weak and incompetent. In 1451, the Afghan, the chief Bahul Lodi defended Al-Wuddin Alam Shah and founded the fifth and last dynasty of Delhi Sultan, that is the Lodi dynasty. This dynasty is the Lodi dynasty, the period from 1451 to 1526, and there were majorly, this is the last phase of Delhi Sultanate, and there were majorly three main rulers in this dynasty. The first ruler is Bahul Khan Lodi, the second is Sikandar Lodi, and third is Ibrahim Lodi. And these three rulers was able to have their domination over this Lodi dynasty, and by 1526 the battle took place between the forces of Babur and Ibrahim Lodi, and in that battle, which is known for the first battle of Panipat, Ibrahim Lodi was killed by his force and were defended by Mughal army under the Babur, and thus the rule of Delhi Sultan came to end, and Babur founded a new dynasty in India, that is called the Mughal dynasty. Next, we are going to see the most important development of the Sultanate period. So, if you see, after the death of the Sultan, anyone who could take place in this place, and if you see the first about this place was the slave dynasty, and the slave dynasty, if you are able to see, formerly the rulers who was ruling the slave dynasty were slaves, and slaves, and so that so Sultan have to keep working out ways to reduce the power of these noblemen. And the next is about the Chakhalgiri, were a group of powerful and Turkish noblemen who enjoyed high administration position under Itmish and earlier of his loyal supporters of advice, and later her daughter Risia failed to suppress them, and she was being killed, and came Ghaziazuddin Balban succeeded in suppressing Chakhalgiri, and he introduced rituals of Siyad and was lying to raise the position of sultan to make the noblemen feel that they were inferior to the former. He also suppressed the rebellions of ruthless and gave in justice to all, the treating his subjects equally through his strict administration and good conduct. He was able to reduce the power of the noble and the strength of the authority of the monarchy. Now we are going to see the empire building during those time. During the early phases of Sultanate, the place where people settled, were administrated, were generally a town with a permanent location of the army, such as garrison towns. The direct town rule of Sultan rarely went beyond these garrison towns. Crops, money, and other material necessary to make these towns grow, but these were not very easily available. So the rulers conducted armed raids in areas where such resources were available. The military campaigns of Ghazias-ud-Din Balban and Al-Wuddin Khalji Muhammad bin Tughlaq solved this problem under the command of Balban. The forests in Ganga, the world were cleared, lands reclaimed were distributed among the peasants. It led to the establishment of new foresters and settlement. Troops were posted in these new towns to safeguard trades, roads, and help easily passage for the Sultan's troops. Sultans took the shape of an empire during the regions of Al-Wudain Khalji, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, Ghazin-ud-Din army, and led to the Malik Kafur conquered several kingdoms in the Gujarat and Rajasthan. Many kingdoms of south were also being surrendered around the large of the gifts of tributes. And by the end of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, the rule in 1351, large part of subcontinent have come under the Sultanate rule. In the territories under the Delhi Sultan, a system of rule revenue collection through the land grants was introduced. Many regions of subcontinent still remain outside the control of Sultanate. District provinces like Bengal and those in southern India were difficult to rule from Delhi from long periods. For the Sultanate administration, this is that, I mean, how was the Sultanate administration about the land records, about the collection of land revenue? So which were the different officials, and how were the documents, and which were the different type of trustees that were prevalent, and how each of these trustees and each of these I mean chieftains and landlords were ruled, and different control over the Sultanate, and how they lost their traditional rights of collection of tax, and were made pay to the tax themselves. So these were major areas of various areas of administration. And beyond that, the Sultan official measured land and kept regular accounts. The most important type of tax were the Kalha Raj. It was a tax on cultivation and amounted it to nearly 50% of the peasants' produce. Two other tax were the house tax and the tax on cattle. So these in operation of the Tughlaqs. The first major operation of the experiment was a transfer of capital from Delhi to Devagiri in the Deccan. So you'll be able to see in the map, or how the from Delhi to Devagiri. That is, from Delhi you'll be able to see from Delhi to Devagiri. There is a small kind of transfer of capital from Delhi to Devagiri, and it is about 1,500 kilometers away from Delhi. That is, from Delhi to Devagiri. That is, from Delhi to Devagiri. There is about 1,500 kilometers, and although I mean they build these between capital between Delhi and Devagiri, many people used to go from I mean travel from one place to other place, and during those time in summer many of the people die, and finally Muhammad Tughlaq decided to abandon this Devagiri and return to back to Delhi within 2 years. Although the experiment was failed, it improved the communication between the North and South India, and even now the communication between North and South India is very prevalent, and many of the people, including Sufis, saints, settled here and spread many of the religions and social cultural ideas of Turks had brought with them in North India, and thus a new process of cultural interaction between North and South India began. And And next, if you see another bold decision of Muhammad Tughlaq, that even though he has introduced token currency and some of these ideas was successful, but some of these ideas was failure, and he issued bronze coin with some value of silver tanga regular currency. The idea of token currency was a new idea in India, so it created confusion among the traders and common people. People soon started foreign new coin freely, and the government failed to prevent this crime. The coins soon lost their value in the market. Finally, Muhammad Tughlaq withdrew the token currency from the market. Muhammad bin Tughlaq planned to raise a large army to attack Mongol territories in the Central Asia. So he raised taxation in Dobar region to feed his army, but the region was in a grip of famine. So the peasants revolt there. His policy was to appoint talented and efficient men to the high officials, so failed due to the opposition of the nobles. Through most of the Muhammad Tughlaq plans ended unsuccessfully. There is no doubt that he was one of the most progressive sultan of his time. Next, we are going to see the decline of the sultans. So, if you see, the decline of sultans started during the rule of Tughlaq. During the last 2 centuries of Sultanate period, a number of regional kingdoms emerged in Malwa, Bengal, Gujarat, and India, South India. The weakness of the sultan further came to light with Timbu's invasion. His army mercilessly punched various towns on the way to Delhi, has stirred the decline of sultan. Regional kingdoms in the south, like Vijayanagara, Brahmani empires involved new systems of rule, while the north, new ruling group like Rajputs and Afghans emerged as an important regional power. So this is regarding decline of sultans and how this is how decline sultan got declined. So this is about the chapter about the Sultanate period, and we have seen different dynasties and how each dynasty is prevalent, which are the major kingdoms and major rulers of these each dynasty, and we have seen different administration process of Sultanate period and how Sultanate period had come to an end, and after that Mughal period could started, and so we will be studying detailedly about the Mughal period in the coming chapters. So that is regarding this Delhi Sultanate period. Thank you, my dear students. I hope you have understood the chapter.